News on March 14th, Judge Andrew Napolitano made the following statement, quote, 3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command. He didn't use the NSA, he didn't use the CIA, he didn't use the FBI, and he didn't use the Department of Justice. He used GCHQ. What is that? It's the initials for the British intelligence spying agency. So simply by having 2 people saying to them, President needs transcripts of conversations involving candidate Trump's conversations involving President-elect Trump, he's able to get it, and there's no
U.S. will not repeat claims GCHQ wiretapped Donald Trump. This is news from White House press secretary pointed to Fox News sources today. GCHQ rejected allegations made by the White House that it spied on Mr. Trump as nonsense. No 10 has been assured the accusation would not be repeated, a spokesman for Prime Minister Theresa May said. He said it had been made clear to U.S. authorities the claims were ridiculous and should have been ignored. GCHQ also rejected the allegations as utterly ridiculous. The unusual move by the agency to comment on the news came after White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer cited claims first made on U.S. TV channel Fox News earlier this week. Mr. Trump said that Trump Tower in New York was under surveillance, but has provided no evidence for the claim. The allegations of GCHQ involvement were initially made by former Judge Andrew Napolitano. Mr. Spicer quoted Mr. Napolitano as saying, 3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command. White House softens Trump wiretap claims. Did Obama really wiretap Trump Tower? Insight into GCHQ's inner workings. He said Mr. Obama didn't use the NSA, he didn't use the CIA, he didn't use the FBI, and he didn't use the Department of Justice, he used GCHQ. What the heck is GCHQ? That's the initials for the British spying agency. They have 24/7 access to the NSA database. A GCHQ spokesman said, recent allegations made by media commentator Judge Andrew Napolitano about GCHQ being asked to conduct wiretapping against the then president-elect are nonsense. They are utterly ridiculous and should be ignored. It's a bad day for the transatlantic intelligence community when Britain's largest and best-funded spy agency, GCHQ, has to come out and publicly contradict a claim made by its closest ally. GCHQ, MI6 and MI5 rarely, if ever, comment on ongoing intelligence stories in the news. But the allegation made by Mr. Spicer was seen as so potentially damaging, as well as being untrue, that it was decided to make an exception. The BBC understands that a discussion was held earlier this week in No 10 on whether and how to respond. When Mr. Spicer repeated his claim of GCHQ collusion on Thursday, the strongly worded denial was written and published. Career intelligence officers on both sides of the Atlantic will now be at pains to protect their historically close relationship from any further perceived gaffes coming out of the White House. Former MI5 intelligence officer Ben Owen said he would be shocked if the claims turned out to be true. It's not something GCHQ would do, he told the BBC's Victoria Derbyshire programme. They have to stick to the letter of the law. He said that leaks by Edward Snowden, a former contractor for the CIA, had eroded public trust in intelligence agencies. These stories have more credence with the public, he said. But ex-Ministry of Defense Intelligence Office Crispin Black said that we just don't know if the U.S. authorities are correct about British involvement. Sometimes intelligence agencies, it may well not be the case this time, do operate outside the law and outside the bounds of common sense, he said.
January 20th, a New York Times article where they were talking about wiretapping.
Current president says that he believes that the former president, maybe not personally, but the former president through the government, surveilled his campaign in 2016. that question needs to be answered because I don't think it's ever been raised before. And the bottom line is a lot of Americans are wondering what's going on here.
About the issue with the president talking about tapping Trump Tower, that evidence still remains the same, that we don't have any evidence that took place. And in fact, I don't believe, just in the last week of time, the people we've talked to, I don't think there was an actual tap of Trump Tower.
But the point is, the intelligence committees, in their continuing, widening, ongoing investigation of all things Russia, got to the bottom, at least so far, with respect to our intelligence community, that no such wiretap existed. We've cleared that up, that we've seen no evidence of that.
We talked about wiretapping. He meant surveillance. The bottom line is that the investigation by the House and the Senate has not been provided all of the information. There's a ton of media reports out there that indicate that something was going on during the 26 election.
But wiretap covers a lot of different things. I think you're going to find some very interesting items coming to the forefront over the next 2 weeks.
GCHQ is one of 3 UK intelligence and security agencies, along with MI5 and MI6. It delivers signals intelligence, the intercepting of communication between people or electronic devices, to the Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary. The agency credits its particularly strong relationship with its US equivalent, the National Security Agency, to the collaboration it began at Bletchley Park during World War II. Mr. Trump's earlier claim that his phones were tapped were earlier dismissed by Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Richard Burr. A Senate committee on Thursday concluded that there were no indications Trump Tower was under surveillance by the U.S. government before or after the election. Mr. Trump had accused his predecessor Barack Obama of wiretapping Trump Tower during the presidential race. Mr. Spicer said Mr. Trump stuck by his allegations.